Welcome to my channel, friends. So today we'll be discussing the part 6 of logistics and supply chain management. So we will be covering logistics outsourcing, layers of logistics, factors to be considered while outsourcing, reasons to outsource logistics services, benefits of logistics outsourcing, critical issues in logistics outsourcing. Then we will also discuss type of 3PL providers, that is standard 3PL providers, service developer, the customer adapter, the customer developer, and we will discuss the modern 3PL or contemporary 3PL are different from traditional 3PL in which ways. Okay. So let's start up with the different layers of logistics. Basically, there are 5 layers of logistics starting from the 1PL, 2PL, 3PL, 4PL, and there is one more layer which is called as the 5PL, which is also called as fifth party logistics. Okay. So now let's try to understand each layers of logistics with the help of a video.
And highly debated among those in the supply chain industry. So let's talk about and explain all of the layers of logistics. First, let's get on the same page. What is a 3PL? The Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals glossary defines both 3PL and 4PL, and is one I have found to be generally true across the board. The CSCMP defines 3PL as follows: outsourcing all or much of a company's logistics operations to a specialized company. The term 3PL was first used in the early 1970s to identify intermodal marketing companies, or IMCs, in transportation contracts. Up to that point, contracts for transportation had featured only two parties, the shipper and the carrier. When IMCs entered the picture as intermediaries that accepted shipments from the shippers and tendered them to the rail carriers, they became the third party to the contract, the 3PL. The definition has broadened to the point where these days, every company that offers some kind of logistics service for hire calls itself a 3PL. Preferably, these services are integrated or bundled together by the provider. Services they provide are transportation, warehousing, cross-docking, inventory management, packaging, and freight forwarding. In 2008, legislation passed declaring that the legal definition of a 3PL is a person who solely receives, holds, or otherwise transports a consumer product in the ordinary course of business, but who does not take title to the product. Third-party logistics providers are freight forwarders, courier companies, and other companies integrating and offering subcontracted logistics and transportation services. Next, you'll need to know what is a 4PL. Well, the CSCMP defines 4PL as follows. A 4PL differs from third-party logistics in the following ways. A 4PL organization is often a separate entity established as a joint venture or long-term contract between a primary client and one or more partners. A 4PL organization acts as a single interface between the client and multiple logistics service providers. All aspects, ideally, of the client's supply chain are managed by the 4PL organization, and it is possible for a major third-party logistics provider to form a 4PL organization within its existing structure. However, 4PL was originally defined by Accenture as a trademark in 1996 and defined as a supply chain integrator that assembles and manages the resources, capabilities, and technology of its own organization with those of complementary service providers to deliver a comprehensive supply chain solution. But that trademark is no longer registered, so feel free to use it. Now, 4PLs have also been referred to as lead logistics providers, or LLPs. Now, a new crop of companies has emerged who are actual transportation companies too. While a 4PL is sometimes described as a non-asset owning service provider, their role is to provide broader scope managing of the entire supply chain. Now, let's pivot. What about all these other PLs? In the PL terminology, it is important to differentiate the 3PL versus 4PL from the other logistics layers. And those are first-party logistics, a 1PL, are shippers. These are the cargo owners, which can be the shipper, such as a manufacturing firm delivering to customers, or the consignee, such as a retailer picking up a cargo from a supplier. Shippers dictate the origin, supply, the destination, demand of the cargo, with distribution being an entirely internal process assumed by the firm. With globalization and the related outsourcing and offshoring of manufacturing, distribution services that used to be assumed internally tend to be contracted to external service providers. Second party logistics, a 2PL, are carriers. 2PLs are the carriers that are providing a transport service over a specific segment of a transport chain. It could involve a maritime shipping company, a rail operator, or a trucking company that are hired to haul cargo from an origin, for example, a distribution center, to a destination, for example, a port terminal. Fifth party logistics, a 5PL, are digital tech entities. Now, along comes the 5PL, who sometimes define themselves as broadening the scope further to e-business. Now, for a handy visual on the layers of logistics, let's look at this graphic that you see on your screen now. As you can see, the actors are on the left, with shippers at the top. The services provided are featured on the left of the graphic. It's quite an ecosystem. In conclusion, you might question anything more elaborate than a third party providing logistics consultation or management, no matter how advanced or far-reaching their service might be. So are they still 3PLs who just invented a fancy title to set them apart from the competition? Or is there a real differentiation? The 4PL is neutral and will manage the entire logistics process, regardless.
So these are the different layers of logistics, starting from the 1PL, that is first PL logistics. In the first PL logistics, basically there are only one player, like basically the manufacturer or the shipper, who directly transport the good to the second party. So next is this 2PL, which is a 2PL logistics. In that, basically there are only two players in the supply chain, that is the manufacturer and the basically the transportation company. So that is a 2PL. And 3PL is third party logistics, and third party logistics companies are those companies who will be conducting any one of the logistics activity. For example, say warehousing or inventory management or transportation. They will be specialized in that particular field, and they'll be extending that particular service to the companies. So that is a third party logistics company. So who is a fourth party logistics company? Fourth party logistics companies are companies may they will be dealing with a lot of third party logistics company. It is not required by a fourth party logistics company to own assets. Like the fourth party logistics company may be in touch or in contract with a lot of third party logistics company, so that they can manage the business in an efficient way. Okay, and there is one more concept which is called as 5PL or fifth party logistics. Like fifth party logistics companies are basically digital tech companies, or the companies that are dealing with e-business mostly. So they operate on a much advanced platform. So these are the basic layers of logistics. And now let's try to understand what is the meaning of the word outsourcing. So what do you mean by logistics outsourcing? So first we'll try to understand what the meaning of word outsourcing is. So logistics outsourcing can be defined as a strategic use of outside parties, business independency, to perform activities traditionally handled by the internal staff and resources. Y company allocates its resources to X company in order to manage its supply chain. Y work as an extension of X company, exercising their strategy and driving their initiative. Y's objective is to lead X business to logistics best practices, providing logistics expertise and consultancy support, optimizing X process and supply chain. So whenever a company is shifting its business operation to a third party company or a third party country to increase the profit and efficiency, that is called as outsourcing. Okay. So factors to be considered while outsourcing. These are the major factors that a company should consider while outsourcing. First is identify areas of opportunity. Like in which all areas I can be benefited if I outsource the particular service to a third party company. Second is assessing the strength and weaknesses. So before outsourcing to a third party company, a company should definitely do an assessment. Like what are the strength and weakness of the company that I'm gonna outsource to. Okay, and decide what to outsource first. And I need to understand like which is my weak department and which department should I outsource, whether I should outsource my warehouse activities, whether I should outsource my inventory activities, or whether I should outsource my transportation. So this analysis has to be done by you before making a decision on outsourcing. Identify a short list of providers. So before you are making a final call on outsourcing, you need to understand like which are the major players in the market, 3PL players in the market. And after analyzing only, you can make a decision on which company that I should outsource to. And consider the human element. That is the last point. So now we will discuss the 8 reasons to outsource logistics services. What are the reasons that companies outsource to a third party? First is freedom to focus on critical operations. Instead of trying to perform logistics services in-house, outsource it to a company that has in-depth expertise and experience in carrying out logistics operation with ease. This in turn will help you to free up your resources and allow them to focus on the critical operations. So that is the first point, freedom to focus on critical operations. For example, I have started my own company a couple of years back, and I am functioning all the activities of logistics. I have my transportation, I have my warehouses, and customer care, all the departments. But the problem is that I'm not having an efficient transportation department. So thereby, a lot of time is getting wasted. Me trying to manage the transportation department. So I will decide to give my transportation services to a third party company who are expertise in the field, so that I can save a lot of time on my critical operations. I can focus this time on the other activities to increase the efficiency of my company. So if I give this activity to a third party company who are expertise in transportation, they will manage this activity in a much efficient way in which I am managing it, and they can increase the efficiency, thereby increasing the profit. So that is the first reason that any company will consider before outsourcing a service. Second is reduced back office work. Most 3PL outsourcing service providers have sufficient manpower and the desired system already in place. They can process thousands of bills and audit them appropriately within short time. Outsourcing logistics back office tasks to professional vendors therefore frees up your free time and increasing productivity. So if we give your any department to a third party company, of course they will be expertise in their own field. So when they're doing their work, definitely they can reduce the back office work. So they will be able to complete the work in a much stipulated time than you are doing. So that is the second point, reduced back office work. So third point is enhanced customer satisfaction. Most service providers specialize in logistics services only. They know the domain better than others and can come up with innovative ideas and strategies to further reduce costs for their clients, as well as deliver better experiences. This leads to enhanced customer satisfaction and builds partnership which can last a lifetime. So this point is discussing about customer satisfaction. You can take the example of a customer service department. I am having a logistics management company, and I am having my customer service department which I am managing in house. So I have started my company only a couple of years back, and the problem is that my customer service department is not efficient. So customer service department being a very sensitive department, all the complaints, returns, and everything is handled by the customer service department. So last couple of years, I'm getting a lot of complaints, and the complaints are not resolved on time. As a result, my customer satisfaction have gone down. Customers are not happy. So I am deciding to give this particular activity, that is customer service activity, to a third party who is expertise in this field. So by doing like that, I can enhance my customer satisfaction. So that is the third point being discussed here, is enhanced customer satisfaction. Next is reduce liabilities. The logistics service provider help to manage all interconnected carrier contract, safety ratings, and insurance certificate. More often than not, they have back office staff ready to work with invoicing variances, carrier vetting process, etc. This means you stand to face zero liabilities. All the groundwork gets taken care by the service provider. So there are a lot of logistics activity that require a lot of investment. You can take the example of transportation activity. So if I need my transportation activity to be efficient, then I need a fleet of transportation, maybe trucks and other things. So this is like owning a lot of assets. So if you are owning a lot of assets, definitely there are a lot of liabilities associated with it. For example, you are buying a lot of trucks, you need to pay the insurance for the trucks. Okay, and you need to pay the taxes for the trucks. These are all assets that is coming up. So if you are hiring a third party logistics to manage your transportation activity, you don't have to manage all these expenses. All these expenses will be covered by this third party transportation company. You'll have to just manage the third party logistics company. Okay. Next is efficient handling of petty expenses. Small expenditures like insurance cost, docking cost, transportation, or fixed warehouse cost are all taken care by the logistics service providers. You don't have to deal with petty expenses, thereby freeing up your accounting department's time. So there are a lot of petty expenses which will incur during a logistics activity. So if you are giving your this activity to a third party logistics company, definitely they will manage all these petty expenses. You don't have to take the headache for paying all these petty expenses and you have to waste your time. Economies of scale. You might end up spending a lot of time trying to scale up your existing team to perform logistics services in house. However, a third party logistics service provider can help you achieve economy of scale as they specialize only in providing logistics services, thereby being able to ramp down services within short intervals. This point explains about the economy of scale. When you are giving an activity to a third party logistics company who are expertise in their field, for example transportation, you are giving your transportation activity to a third party company who are expertise in the transportation field. So definitely they have contacts already in the market and they can get the economies of scale. Economies of scale are nothing but discounts that they avail while providing the service. Okay. Next is efficient real-time tracking. Most 3PLs are technologically adept and follow for real-time tracking and visibility of loads. Some of the more popular service providers even provide integration with warehouse management system and enterprise resource planning. By being able to track your shipments with ease, and you spend less time worrying and more time focusing on the core areas. Here we are talking about efficient real-time tracking. Like say you can take the example of a warehouse activity. So most of the warehouses were managing their services through traditional methods before some years, but now most of the warehouses have introduced advanced warehouse management system with the help of which they can track the goods in a much better way. Okay, so if we are giving the activity of warehouse management to a third party, definitely they will use this warehouse management advanced tool to track the complete goods and to give you reports on time so that you can increase the efficiency. Okay. Now let's discuss what are the other relevant benefits. Good warehouse management system ensuring safety of your goods. Control remains within you, the client, and easy outsourcing operation process with duly signed documentation. These are the some advantages of using efficient real-time tracking. And now we will discuss outsourcing value proposition. Logistic service providers help the business corporations in achieving two goals. That is reducing operating cost and increasing revenue. So these are the two objectives of when we are trying to outsource to a third party company. These are the two objectives. One is to reduce the operating cost and to increase the revenue. As the service providers organizes the required logistics asset, the investment in owning the logistics asset on the part of the customer is reduced. This in turn allows the firm to invest in more productive activities. As we already discussed this point, that instead of investing a lot of money in a particular logistic activity, if they can give that particular activity to a third party, they can reduce the investment and they can reduce the operating cost, and definitely they can use this free time on developing the other areas. So now let's try to understand what are the critical issues in logistics outsourcing. So these are the critical issues: switching cost, degree of control, human and electronic interface, tuning logistics services to the need of channel partners, and degree of outsourcing. So now let's try to understand one by one. So what are the points that is discussed in the switching cost? Okay. Switch some activities to be taken care of, managing the existing assets by the service provider, deploying the existing asset on lease to the service provider, divesting the existing asset, and also switching over fully to usage of logistics infrastructure. So switching cost is one of the important issue when we are outsourcing, like managing the existing assets by the service provider. So when we are outsourcing to a third party company, then we may have to give the existing asset to the third party company to manage. So that is another important issue while we are going for outsourcing. And deploying the existing asset on lease to the service provider. Sometimes we'll have to lease the existing service to the service provider. Okay, and sometimes we'll have to give the assets also to the service provider for them to manage it. Okay, so next is degree of control. The firm which is outsourcing must have good control over the 3PL or 4PL company. Regular monitoring has to be done and proper reports has to be maintained. So when we are outsourcing to a third party company, there is a risk involved in it because we are giving our brand name and brand value to a third party company. So we should have enough and more control about the third party or fourth party logistics company because regular monitoring has to be done and report has to be maintained because there are chances that they may uh, ruin your name because of the bad services that they are providing. Okay, human and electronic interface, proper communication between employees of both companies to be maintained. There has to be proper communication channel that has to be maintained with the third party logistics company or the fourth party logistics company. It means like the employees who are working with the parent company and the third party logistics company or the fourth party logistics company has to be clear. Communication has to be clear. Both companies' employees should cordially work towards formulating organizational policies and procedures. Both the company employees should be work very cordially within each other so that they can increase the efficiency. Next point is turning logistic services to the need of channel partners. The major areas of interface between the channel and logistics management is defining the logistics standard as required by the channel members, designing the logistics programs by standards, implementing the programs and also monitoring the programs. So while we are trying to outsource the logistics service to a third party or logistics company or a fourth party logistics company, the policies, procedures, norms, vision, values of the companies to be made clear to the third party company. Then only they can operate as per the standard expectation of the parent company. Okay, next is degree of outsourcing. It depends on existing logistics infrastructure of the company, product portfolio management, policy for third party involvement. So when we are trying to outsource our services to a third party company, at what degree should I outsource? It is completely dependent on the factors like existing logistics infrastructure. What is the existing logistics infrastructure of the company? Can I manage it in house or should I get the help of a third party or a fourth party logistics company? Second point is product portfolio management. What is the parameters of the product which I have? What is the portfolio of the product which I have? Can I manage it in house or should I give it to a third party? Policy of a third party involvement. In case if I'm making a third party or a fourth party to get involved in my business, what is the policy that I should implement? What is the terms and condition that I should maintain? Next is in-house and outsource. A firm should consider outsourcing if the growth in the surplus is large with a small increase in risk. Performing the function in-house is preferable if the growth in surplus is small or the increase in risk is large. Okay. So if the risk is large, definitely they should consider in-housing the activity. And if the risk is small, definitely they can go for third-party logistics company or a fourth-party logistics company. So now let's discuss third parties in supply chain growth. Third parties increase the supply chain surplus if they either increase value for the customer or decrease the supply chain cost relatively to a firm performing the task in-house. And the third parties can increase the supply chain surplus effectively if they are able to aggregate the supply chain assets or flows to higher level than the firm itself. So what is the supply chain surplus? Supply chain surplus is the value addition by the supply chain function of an organization. It is calculated by revenue generated from a customer minus total cost incurred to the produce and deliver the product. Okay. So supply chain surplus is nothing but the revenue generated. Revenue generated from a customer minus the total cost incurred to produce that product and to deliver that product. Okay. So how the third party company can increase the supply chain surplus? If the third party logistics company is expertise in their field and they can perform in a much better way than the in-house company can do and increase the profit, that is also another factor. So now let's discuss what are the three important factors that affect the increase of surplus through 3PL. Okay, so there are basically 3 points like scale, uncertainty, and the specificity of assets. Okay, these are the three important factors that affect the increase of surplus. So when the companies are trying to increase their surplus to 3PL, these are the factors that is considered. First is scale. Economy of scale is a proportionate saving in the cost gained by an increased level of production. If the scale is large, it is very likely that sufficient economies of scale are achieved internal to the firm itself, where third-party company cannot achieve a surplus. Walmart is an example. It has enough scale in transportation that it achieves economies of scales by tracking itself. So if the company is very large company who's having a lot of surplus by itself, for example Walmart, such kind of a company will not get a supply chain surplus by uh, outsourcing their activity to a third party, because they are bulking in bulk, they are buying goods in bulk, and their activity happens in bulk. So they already have an economy of scale, so they will not get any economies of scale by giving this activity to a third party. Next is uncertainty. The second important factor is uncertainty of firm needs. If the needs are very predictable, the increase in surplus from third party is limited. Especially if the firm has sufficient economies of scale, the third party cannot increase the surplus by large amount. You already told us, like, if the company is already having an economies of scale, and it's an uncertain point that if a company is operating on an uncertain mode, like the prediction is uncertain, we cannot predict how much goods I need at certain times, then the third party company cannot increase its surplus. Next is specificity of asset. If a third party logistics provider manages a warehouse exclusively for a single firm, it has a few opportunity to increase the surplus unless it can aggregate the use of management or information system across the warehouses. This point is specificity of asset. Like if a third party logistics company is operating only for one player, he is not having any other client, means he cannot increase the supply chain surplus. If assets, inventory or warehouses are less specific and can be used across multiple firms, a 3PL can increase the surplus by aggregating. So now let's see what are the four risks that must be evaluated by firms when they move any function or process to a third party provider. These are the risks that companies should evaluate it. First is the process is broken. There are chances that the process is broken. So when you are giving your logistics service or logistics activity to a third party company, the process is broken down. You may not have a clear idea on how the third party logistics company is going to operate. Second is reduced customer supplier contact. So when you are giving your activity to a third party logistics company, the regular interaction with the supplier is getting lost. You don't have any contact with the supplier or customer. So that is another risk. Third one is loss of internal capability and growth in third party power. There are chances that there is a monopoly. When you're giving the power to a third party company, there are chances that they may misuse the power. Okay, and they may try to manipulate things. So that is another risk when we are trying to giving the logistics activity to a third party. Leakage of sensitive information and data. There are chances that your data, which is very confidential, may get leaked because we are giving our logistics activity to a third party company. Next is ineffective contracts. Like certain companies, like even though they have a contract, they will try to breach the contract at any point of time. So that is also another risk when we are trying to outsource the services. Loss of supply chain visibility and negative reputational impact. So we are giving our brand to another company to manage. So if their services are bad, definitely it's going to have a negative impact on our brand also, because both the parent company brand and the third party company brand are going to work simultaneously. So that is also another risk which is involved. So now let's try to understand what a third party logistics provider is. Like third party logistics provider, it can be a company who is specialized in a particular activity. As you know, we have got around 14 activities in logistics. Example, customer service, transportation, inventory management, warehouse management. So any company who is expertise in this field, they can be called as a third party logistics company. Okay, and most of the third party logistics company, they may have assets of their own because they operate with their own assets. Okay. So according to the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, a 3PL is defined as a firm that provides multiple logistics services for use by customers. Preferably these services are integrated or bundled together by the provider. Among the services, 3PL providers are transportation, warehousing, cross-docking, inventory management, packaging, and freight forwarding. The standard operator is called a wholesaler who extends only one type of service in which it has expertise. It may end such services such as warehousing, transportation, inventory management, packaging, and so forth. So, a service provider who extends only one service can be called as a wholesaler. However, the one who provides the total logistics services and offers entire solution to the customer problem is called as an integrator. So a player who have more than one activity, he can be called as an integrator. So what is a 3P SCM? 3P SCM is third party supply chain management provider or supply chain management service provider. Services offered by beyond logistics include value added services like production, procurement related, etc. So when a company is providing you much assistance rather than a logistics activity, he is called a 3PSCM, that is third party supply chain management provider, or SCMSP, supply chain management service provider. So he will be extending more services to you. Okay, rather than the activity, he will be extending more services to you. Now let's try to understand what are the different types of 3PL providers. Basically, there are four kinds of 3PL providers: standard 3PL providers, service developer, the customer adapter, and the customer developer. So who is a standard 3PL provider? At this level, the 3PL company provides only one basic logistics. This involves the storing and transporting of your product and some distribution in accordance with your company request. So any company which is doing only one activity, that is a standard 3PL provider. Okay, for example, a warehouse management operator, he'll be handling only warehouses. He will not handle any other activity. So he is a standard 3PL provider. Next is service developer. In addition to the basic logistics service offered at the standard level, the service developer 3PL offers support in IT, security, and product tracking. This means they can further ensure the delivery of your package is safe on time. So apart from the basic logistics activity, when some other activities are also offered, they can be called as a service developer. So now let's see who's customer adapter. Customer adapter 3PLs are different in that they take over and run the existing logistics operation from the partner company rather than creating their own. So certain 3PL companies, when they are taking out the outsourcing from another company, they will operate in the same way that the parent company was operating. They will not try to create their own structure or policies. That is called as customer adapter. They will adapt to the same policy and procedure of the parent company. Now let's try to understand what a customer developer is. At this level, the customer developer 3PL will not only inherit the logistics operation of their partner company, but they will also adapt their own systems. That means that the 3PL in essence becomes the entire logistics department as opposed to simple offering services. A customer developer, as the name implies, he will try to develop his own policies and procedures on implementing the logistics services. He will not adapt the procedures that was operating by the parent company. Instead, he will try to develop his own policies and procedures. There can he can increase the efficiency of the logistics activity. So now let's discuss what is a 4PL. 4PL is also called as LLP, Lead Logistics Providers. Lead Logistics Providers, also referred to as fourth party logistics providers, have a broad role within the supply chain. They assume many of the same roles as the third party logistics providers but have much broader responsibility and accountability in helping the customer reach its strategic goals. So 4PL is a much more advanced mode of 3PL companies. It is not necessary that 4PL companies should own assets. 4PL company can be a company who is a much smarter company who will be managing multiple 3PL companies. Actually, a 4PL company will not say a no for anything. If you ask them for any activity, they are open to it. They will take that activity and they will make sure that they will deliver that activity done. So that is the difference between third party logistics company and a fourth party logistics company. Okay. A fourth party logistics provider essentially takes third party logistics a step further by managing resources, technology, infrastructure, and even manage external 3PLs to design, build, and provide supply chain solutions for businesses. 4PL includes 3PL services and some of the following: logistics strategy, analytics, including transportation, spend analysis, capacity utilization, and carrier performance, fleet sourcing strategies, network analysis and design, consultancy, business planning, change management, project management, control tower and network management services, coordinating a wide supplier base across many modes and geographies, inventory planning and management, inbound, outbound, and reverse logistics management. So these are the some advanced logistics activity that the 4PL companies extend to the other companies. And some examples of 4PL are Deloitte. Deloitte provides 4PL services that go above and beyond traditional 3PL by offering strategic business insights, and consultative services in addition to logistics execution. So, and another example is Accenture. Accenture is a company who have launched the concept of 4PL logistics. And now let's try to understand what are the advantages of 4PL. Outsource the entire logistics segment of a business. Take advantage of strategic advice in addition to operational support. And disadvantages of 4PL, little control over logistics and fulfillment process, likely to be expensive, and 4PLs are relatively new concept, but typically they are sought out by medium to large size business that are seeking a complete logistic solution from both an operational and strategic perspective. And a 4PL should fulfill the following requirements. It covers the entire supply chain of the customers. It should collaborate with two or more logistic service providers on a resource sharing basis to extend logistic solution to a common consumer. Alliances to be led by the integrator with IT based and non-asset based service provider. Flexible arrangement. Okay. And now let's discuss what are the modern 3PL or contemporary 3PL are different from traditional 3PL in the following ways. How a modern 3PL company is different from a traditional 3PL company. So modern 3PL system tend to have formal contracts between providers and users that are at least 1 year duration. So modern 3PL companies have only 1 year duration of contracts. And modern 3PL tends to be characterized by relational as opposed to transactional focus. A focus on mutual benefits, the availability of customized as opposed to standardized offering. So modern 3PL companies, instead of offering standardized offering, they are customizable. You can customize your services as per your requirement. That is an advantage of the modern 3PL companies. A modern 3PL provider sees it as a customer as a party with whom it's going to have a long-term relationship. So once a modern 3PL company signs an agreement with the parent company, they expect the relationship to go on for a long time. Okay. So hope you like my video. So if you like my video, please hit the like button and please also subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for your time.